welcome to the Wooper Club Season 6 Power Rankings. That's right, we're going to be trying to put out some Power Rankings here every week for anyone who may be interested in following the Wooper Club, as well as just a couple of opinions on where we think everyone is stacking up right now as we are, for the first time this season, introducing a playoff system. So this will be a compilation video between myself and SteveChuck. Say hello.
Hello.
Good, that's what I told you. So we're going to both be having rankings that we put together. Steve has taken a much more analytic approach. He's got a full spreadsheet. He is our spreadsheet guy and has put together a list of his top 6 teams right now. I also, with my own intuition and just watching the matches, put in on my own top 6 list. We did not include ourselves. I don't think it'd really be fair for us to try to rank ourselves. And we put our lists together after that, averaged out where we put everyone at, and came up with a power rankings for week 1. And we'll continue to do this each week, updating it with each week's matches. So if we're ready to get right into it, let's find out what we've got. And here we go, the post week 1 power ranking, starting off with number 6, the Seattle Steamrollers. Why don't you go ahead and take it away, Steve?
Yeah, Chad and his Seattle Steamrollers did get a loss in week 1. However, with a combination of his previous results and what he showed during his first week, I think he definitely still has a solid chance of making the playoffs and especially that 6th spot. In his week 1 match, he had a very solid core, played very defensively, and was able to kind of stall out for quite a significant portion of time. The issue was his opponent could do it slightly better and slightly longer. But yeah, he definitely showed some good stuff there throughout the battle. Kind of made some decisions to cut Pokemon certain times. Sacked his tier 5 Steel Charizard kind of early for the chance to remove the G-Max, and honestly, not a bad trade. And just played smart and got down to a stall fest at the end and couldn't come out on top. Nate, you have anything to add?
Sure, I think he played his Corviknight pretty darn well. It was a battle of pink blobs as well with his Blissey, relatively effective set there too. Chad was the runner-up for 3 seasons in a row, so I really don't see him taking this loss too badly. He's got a couple of tough matchups coming up ahead, but if anyone can rebound, I think Chad is the guy to do it. So next up, we've got number 5 with the newcomer Kanto Kinglers, led by Michael, and he was facing up against Haberfish this past week. Honestly, it was a very good prediction game early on. I think he used his mons and his sets very effectively, switched things in whenever they needed to be switched in. The taunt on Skarmory was super big, knowing that he had a very good answer there. Played his Zero Oryx especially well too, knowing that could be a really nice answer to most of the team that Haberfish brought. A big knockoff on the Alolan Marowak, which he expected to be the switch-in. So very well played there, especially with those 2 mons in particular, knowing the role that the Espeon played in the match with its high speed stat and nice coverage options and everything. I honestly didn't really expect that. I thought he did a very good job and showed a lot of promise in his week 1 matchup. You have anything else to add, Steve?
It's very possible he would have been ranked higher if he decided to not sack Espeon or getting Kingler the final kill.
Well, we know how good Kingler was last season, and definitely deserves all of the kills.
Very, very true. Moving on to number 4, it is the Buffalo Bouffalant. Buffalo Bouffalant played the newcomer Cincinnati Incineroar and came up with a 3-0 win in the match. Although RNG didn't tend to go Buffalo's way, persisted through, and definitely showed a lot of solid team building, which has always been one of Nate's strongest suits. Looking at what his opponent has and coming forward with something to counter it, especially like the Miracoat Mantine, was a big exciting play that, although not as effective as desired, was definitely still a big turning point. And then solid fundamental play throughout. Just persisted even through some rough RNG there. Also, all the way down here for some nicknames like Ed Word. That one hurt.
I
Have anything to add?
Yeah, I know I can obviously be biased for or against myself depending on how critical I am, but I think probably most proud of the Magnuson play. It ended up with the 4 KOs there, and just trying to get it in as often as possible. I think I made very effective use of it. Shout out to all of you who decided to move that thing down to tier 2. I'm here to prove you wrong. So we're going to move on to number 3 on our list, the Akron Agrons, who defeated the Seattle Steamrollers, who we just talked about just a little bit ago. As Steve touched on, he was able to outlast Chad in a crazy long match, well over 90 turns. I don't remember if it had hit 100 or not, but he had a very good defensive core after taking out 1 or 2 Muns, especially with the G-Max Dreadnought. He was able to effectively stall using the Rillaboom's Grassy Surge. Very effective use of the Noivern set, adding in Roosts and U-turning appropriately there as well. And then the Chansey, which really came through, and until my late match was actually the kill leader in the league with Seismic Toss, funnily enough. But he did a very good job understanding what the threats were, that Venusaur could, in Sun, boost up with growth, and effectively countered it with the Chansey. Chad didn't really have any answers for that, and it showed as Chansey was able to take home the W in the end. He even countered the opponent's weather. Chad brought a Torkoal, and Joey did not even end up bringing his Politoed, so very impressive there, finding interesting ways to get around the Sun, maybe not a way that Chad expected, able to play around the Ditto effectively. Just very well done, and I know Joey's had a lot of success more recently, so I'm definitely excited to see what he comes up with next. What else you got for that one?
Very, very important to note that Joey has overcome his weakness from last draft season of Corviknight.
He struggled heavily there, yeah.
I can say from experience from last season that Corviknight single-handedly would beat his entire team. Minus I think there was a Gengar or something. I don't remember for sure, but there was one Pokemon down, and then Corviknight beat his whole team. Joey was very aware of what Corviknight and Blissey, both of them, could do here, and paced his Pokemon usage to make sure he always had an answer to get through that defensive wall at the end. And it turned out being his own defensive wall, but it worked. So, moving on to number 2, we have the Summit County Psyducks. A newcomer to the league, Zach and the Summit County Psyducks. He and John played in week 1 in the Close Combat Club. They had a very close match at the start, a lot of switching early on, keeping everything fresh. And it was very close up until one key point where the Close Combat Club Klefki used Sunny Day.
And, I got a key point.
Yes. And Zach saw his opportunity there and took it and threw a Fire Punch against the Klefki, and then not switching out against the Charizard G-Max and KOing it with Stone Edge, was able to grab momentum. And then from there, just never gave it back, kept John on the defensive for significantly longer, and was able to push through the rest of the team with ease. Zach, having won the previous VGC season, season 5, definitely coming in here as a champion and someone who we might not expect to do as well as others who have drafted before, but showing he has what it takes, getting that 4-0 victory, and looking forward to see what happens with him the rest of the season. Have anything to add?
Yeah, definitely. Early game, his play around with things like Vaporeon was very nice, very impressive. Getting the Scaldburn onto this Cavalier obviously sucks for John early, but it was because he forced out such a switch by getting the really nice Vaporeon into what ended up being a choice Keldeo. So you just forced a couple of plays to happen. As you had mentioned, he kind of cycled around his bonds very effectively until he was able to get that opening. You're just waiting for one misstep there, and his very well-rounded team, I think, was able to execute and make it happen. Definitely expecting big things now from him. He seems to be adapting to the singles playstyle very well, very easily, very effectively. So we're going to move on to the number 1 in our rankings, and that is the Waterdeep Wobbuffets, coached by, of course, SteveChuck. Congratulations to you for the first, for number 1 overall. I placed Steve at number 1 because I thought it was a very impressive performance against Cat Measles, or Matt, coach of the Cincinnati Incineroar. What more can I say than Lycanroc put in a ton of work. He very, very well identified what the team's weaknesses were. Knew on team preview, this Lycanroc, I just need to get it in, set up a substitute, and bam, 3 kills happened not shortly after. You got the Garbodor, very effective use of that. As soon as the Steelix was gone, Garbodor could really go in, and obviously he saw that coming, took the opportunity very quickly, and made short work of it there. Knew that in order to handle the G-Max Cinderace, he needed the Lycanroc still around to be able to handle that. Just overall very well executed, and Matt is no slouch of a battler either, so to win in such a convincing fashion over someone who has been runner-up for the past couple of seasons, very impressive. Definitely a big fan of what you're able to put together there, although I'm not so certain you'll have much success next week. What other thoughts do you have about your match?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that decided this match was preparation. Talking to Matt afterwards and during the match, I don't know how much time he was able to put in preparation. Especially, that key turn when Lycanroc was able to, through a crit, one-shot Steelix with close combat. Matt wasn't really aware what Lycanroc can do. He, was mentioning afterwards, is like, all right, well, he might have, like, a ground move or something, but this should be fine, and just did not expect, the Tough Claws boosted close combat with the crit, which I haven't calced it, but probably didn't matter.
Steelix is a very bulky boy. But we've got a couple of very exciting matchups coming up soon. Although he's not listed, the number 7 team going against the number 6 in this next week. We've also got 2 and 5, I believe, going at it, the Psyducks and the Kinglers. And of course, you don't want to miss the showdown between the Wobbuffets and the Bouffalant, which is coming up in week 2 as well. Shameless plug to my channel down below too. Come check that out. I'll be doing a commentary on that battle as well as a post-game interview for whenever we get around to that one. It's going to be a very exciting season. Very excited to see where everyone ends up with this. We're going to be tracking it closely, and we're going to have a lot of fun. This is finally a league where you need to do well in order to make playoffs to have some games that matter. So can we keep a track? Good luck to everyone out there, and let's see what week 2 has to offer. See ya.